the home of the common Joe and the common Sally in the know, even more so than all those media talking heads. Well. Looks like Bill O'Brien is indeed out at Alabama. As you guys and gals know, I talked about this last week on a podcast, and a lot of people are like, well, he's still at Alabama. What are you talking about? I just told y'all, man. I mean, this just things you have to read between the lines. You know, I'm sort of close to the fire around here in Tuscaloosa, Alabama as well, so that helps me a little bit. But yes, indeed, he is out. He's going to the New England Patriots as their new offensive coordinator. So now, who will Nick Saban target? You know, we talked about a few people last week, and a few of the fan bases out there got a little aggravated because they do not want Nick Saban coming for their offensive coordinators. So whose coordinators are safe, and who will Nick Saban target? Let's talk about it. Before I get started today, I would like to give another shout out to Eric Mofield of Mo's Woodsmith Shop. He made this great cutting board for me. It's handcrafted, handmade, no lasers whatsoever in what he does with his boards. Anything that you want on a board or any kind of piece of wood, Eric Mofield is your man. So check him out. Let's get to the show. This is the OCF. I am the Outlaw of College Football, also known as JPC, Jesse Paul Clark on Facebook, spelled J-E-S-S-E without the I. Also on Twitter at OCF Productions. Now, getting right to it here. Bill O'Brien has definitely parted ways with Alabama as he is going back to the NFL with Bill Belichick and the New England Patriots. As you know, he is from the Massachusetts area, so it's probably more home for him and more to his liking. But, you know, I've said this a couple of times, and the Alabama fans out there really don't agree with me. I think the majority of them wanted Bill O'Brien gone, and I do think we probably did need to make a change at both coordinators' positions, but I think Bill O'Brien catches way too much flack. Pete Golding, to me, was more the problem for Alabama than Bill O'Brien was. The unfair thing for Bill O'Brien is he was compared to Lane Kiffin and Steve Sarkisian, who are both offensive geniuses. As you know, Lane Kiffin was actually mentored by Steve Sarkisian, and like I said, they're two of the best offensive minds in college football. So to compare him to them, slightly unfair, considering that under Sarkisian, Alabama did average 47 points per game and 500 yards per game. Under Bill, the next following year, they dipped a little bit at 39.9 points per game and 488 yards per game, and followed that up last year with 41.1 points per game, which is actually pretty good offense. If your offenses can score near 40 points a game, then you should be winning just about all of your games. You should win every single one of them, in my opinion. And like I said, I think Bill O'Brien, while he does have a abrasive personality somewhat, and that may be some of the reason why he catches flack as well, I think he was a little unfairly grilled upon when Pete Golding, to me, was more of the problem at Alabama because he was giving up a lot of points. Like I said, if your offense is putting up 40 points per game like Bill O'Brien's was, then your defense should be able to do enough to where you can finish undefeated or maybe even win national championships, in my opinion. Now, as far as the candidates go, the ones I mentioned last week are still in place. Some of them are not. The first candidate that keeps popping up is a lot of people have been talking about this past week, and you know the Oklahoma fans and me went back and forth, and they're trying to assure me that Jeff Lebby is not on the market, and they're probably right because from what I heard today and some of the news outlets, Jeff Lebby was actually approached. Now I can't prove that, but it was said that he was actually approached about possibly interviewing for this position, and Jeff Lebby has said that for now he's not really interested in the position. Now, I'm saying that, but things can change, so don't exactly corner me on this one. But right now, it seems like maybe Jeff Lebby is satisfied with being at Oklahoma. Now, the other candidates I've heard was Frank Reich. As you know, Frank Reich was the former head coach of the Indianapolis Colts, but he also was a great offensive coordinator for the Philadelphia Eagles in their 2017 Super Bowl run, where they were the third-ranked offense in the NFL. The problem with the Colts and with the NFL in general is if your coach has really no say in personnel sometimes, it makes it hard for the coach to coach. That's why in college football, that's why Nick Saban and other coaches that stay in college football or come back to college football, they like it better because they can control the personnel decisions more so than they can in the NFL. And in the NFL, Frank Reich was not allowed to get the kind of quarterback he wanted. Therefore, he ended up being on the chopping block and being the scapegoat for the Colts' troubles. But as you can see with his offenses with the Philadelphia Eagles and his other adventures in the NFL, the man is a good offensive mind, and he would be a great candidate at Alabama. The other guy that keeps popping up a lot is Joe Brady. Joe Brady, as you know, led the LSU Tigers to a national championship, even in spite of having a bigot Ed Orgeron, old former friend from the Waterboy impersonator, as their coach. And, of course, Dave Aranda had a lot to do with that, too. Ed was the beneficiary of having two great offensive coordinators at the same time, as well as having Joe Burrow and numerous offensive weapons on his staff to go with those two great coordinators. The impressive thing about Joe Brady to me is that before he got there, Joe Burrow was a middling, mid-card quarterback that had left Ohio State, and nobody really thought much of him, especially the first year he had, which wasn't very spectacular. He took Joe Burrow and molded him into what is today a Super Bowl starting quarterback from last year. So Joe Brady's really impressive. He's had some issues in the NFL as well, but like I said, that goes back to player personnel and the fact that he and his head coaches have no control over who they get to coach. So I think Joe Brady would definitely be a great candidate. Now, another guy's name that keeps popping up that I've said before I'm not happy with, and that's Dan Mullen. While he was a great offensive mind at Mississippi State and other places where he was an offensive coordinator before that, I just think that there's too much baggage with Dan, especially with him and his wife. Now I keep going back to the pictures of her kissing players on the mouth and all that stuff, and that's just a red flag to me. And a lot of people are like, well, she don't mean nothing by it. She's just a very sociable person and real touchy-feely type person. Well, and there's touchy-feely, and then there's going overboard, and there's red flags. And to me, she's a big red flag. Dan Mullen's quirky ways and the fact that he does not like to recruit is not a good combination to come here at Alabama, because at Alabama, they're all about recruiting. Just ask Nick Saban. Casey Woods is another guy they've been mentioned from SMU. He averaged 40.2 points per game, 480 yards per game as a coordinator, which is pretty damn good. But he hasn't done it against Power 5 type defenses. But on the flip side of that, if he had the talent that Alabama has, you never know. Imagine what he could do. So, I mean, there's a flip of the coin here as far as Casey Woods goes. Now, one guy that I went outside the box with, as I discussed in the podcast last week, is Warren Ruggiero. Got his last name right that time. Warren Ruggiero of Wake Forest. He has led Wake Forest to some of the most prolific offenses in Wake Forest history. And if you can do that at Wake Forest, which is one of the lowest budgeted programs in the FCS or FBS or whatever they call it, the CIA. If you can do that at Wake Forest, then you can do it probably just about anywhere. I mean, look what he done with Sam Hartman. He's been hands-on with Sam Hartman, has developed him into an NFL possible type quarterback. When he graduates, I think Sam Hartman is actually transferred to Notre Dame or somewhere like that. I'm not sure about that. Y'all drop it in the comments section. Let me know where Sam Hartman transferred if you want to. But the point is, he put Sam Hartman on the map as far as being an NFL prospect. And I think Wayne Ruggiero would be a very good outside-the-box candidate. And that's all the candidates I got for today. You guys and gals, if you don't mind, drop some in the comments section and tell me what you think. You think Jeff Lebby still in play? Do you think that's just coach speak by him and Nick Saban, and they're trying to keep things in the dark? Do you think these other candidates are great candidates? Do you have an outside the box type candidate that you can drop on us that might be a great candidate as well? And that's all I got to say about that today. If you don't mind, like, share, comment, and subscribe to this channel. Also, there's a heart option down here. If you don't mind, hit that. Throw me a few dollars in the coffers. Get me off the YouTube teat. And as always, KMCA to all the other teams. Class is now officially dismissed.